Okay, in this video, I'm going to try to break things down into shorter videos. I made this video yesterday, and it was an hour long. So I'm like, okay, I got to break it down into smaller videos. If you watched my last two videos before I deleted them, where I demonstrated connecting a sphere to the controllers after replacing the old human IK controllers, you can forget about the sphere part. That's not necessary anymore. And so, yeah, you can forget about that. I also I've deleted, or I'm going to delete those two videos because they're already out of date, because I found out that there was a major bug in the VBH Exporter 1.5. And it turned out to be a typo that had been there since like 2005. It was a typo. It was supposed to be the number 3 when Samantha must have accidentally typed the number 2, and that was enough to cause the bug, so that when you rotated the hips to clockwise, if you're looking at the front of the avatar, facing the avatar, if you tried to rotate the hips to clockwise, it would you wouldn't be able to upload the mesh. You would get something that says something like it cannot find the bone positions. So yeah, but if you rotated it counterclockwise, it was fine. Or if you rotated it forward or back, it was fine. It was only when you rotated it clockwise to the right. And so I spent about 20 hours tracking down that bug and trying all sorts of things. And so, but that's for another video. So what I'm going to do, since I'm going to take down the other two videos, I'm going to show you how to remove the old human IK system and create a new human IK rig. This will be something that will hopefully be added to Maya Star in the next update, but it may take me a couple of months before I get the next update out. So I figured I'd make this video. That way you could do it yourself and not have to wait 3 months. So anyway, so let's get started. And I'm also going to demonstrate, I'm going to demonstrate the Bento skeleton, because it's set up slightly different than the original avatar skeleton for animation. Since more people ask about the Bento, wanting to animate Bento, I figure I'll do the Bento and then I'll do another video doing the other one real quick. Okay, so we're going to activate the female Bento. And it doesn't matter if it's a female or a male Bento, it's the same process. Okay, so we have the female Bento, and the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up the, grab it, the outliner. Oh, that's actually not the first thing you want to do. After we open up the avatar, you want to come in here and go to the animation tools, and then go animate Bento female. Okay. Now you see these orange balls, controller balls that you can grab and move? Well, these are actually the very old human IK system that Autodesk, or Maya Autodesk, abandoned years and years ago. I'm not sure if it was 2010 or 2011, somewhere around there, maybe even 2009, they abandoned the old human IK system for a brand new human IK system. I don't know why they call it the new human IK system human IK, because it gets confusing. I mean, I know IK, inverse kinematics is what IK stands for. But I don't know why they couldn't have named it something completely different, because it is a completely different system, even though it reacts quite similar. And the reason why we're getting rid of these controllers here is that these were used making the old one. And these had a problem. You couldn't just, okay, I'm going to make a quick animation, and I'm going to use my shortcuts keys to make the animation so that you don't have it just be a lot faster. So my shortcut to create a keyframe is the letter S. Yours on your keyboard is probably the home key, because I think that's the standard shortcut for that one. And I changed it and customized it because S is easier for me to reach with my left hand than the home key. So anyway, so we're on frame 1. I'm going to keyframe it. And I'm going for 48, keyframe it. And I'm going to come 24, and I'm going to move that, and I'm going to keyframe it again. And so we have this animation, right? So far, everything is working fine. Now, say I want to copy this frame and paste it, say, onto frame 35, so that between frames 24 and 35, the arm stays perfectly still. So I'm going to copy it, and then come here to 35, and I'm going to paste it. And you see it doesn't stay still. This is wrong. This is unexpected behavior, and this is not how it should actually behave. So this is a problem with this animation rig, with using this old version of Human IK. I was using it because I only had Maya 8, which is from 2007, and it only had this version of Human IK. And even though, and all newer versions of Maya still have the old version of Human IK still in there, even though they took it out of the menus. You can't actually access it anymore, but it's still actually in the program. So if you know how to access it through mail scripts or this or that, you still can. But it's a crummy system. The arm should be completely still. It shouldn't be doing this. But it is. Okay, and I'm going to Control Z. And sometimes you can't even, and I'll see if it will do it here. And I should have been able to delete that keyframe just by doing that, just by having the same controller selected. I haven't even unselected that controller, and I should be able just to right mouse click on this and go delete to delete everything in that frame. But it's not. So this is not behaving as expected. So, and you can see it's going to make animating a nightmare, you know. So this is a bad system. This system here is really bad. So we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to replace it with the new Human IK system. And I'm going to show you how to do it so you can do it yourself, so you don't have to wait for the update. Okay, so the very first thing, after getting it to this point right here, you want to come in here to the outliner, and you want to delete where it says Human IK. So just select it and hit delete. Now it's deleted, and you can also see it got rid of the character down here as well when you deleted it. Alrighty. So the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the avatar so we can see the skeleton. Now with Bento, there's actually two skeletons in the scene. There's a skeleton that you rig to, which is called the hip skeleton for export, because that's the skeleton that's actually going to be exported out. And then you have the animation skeleton. And there's all sorts of reasons for using two skeletons versus one skeleton. Technically, you can use only one skeleton if you want to, but there's problems with that. Mainly not with Maya, but with Second Life. And I'll show you really quick. It has to do with the joint orientations. Let's see. Animation, joint size. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see them a little bit easier. Okay. Now you notice when I select a joint, and if I go to the top view, and if I double click on the move tool, make sure that it's set to object. Oh, this one's actually kind of off a little bit. Anyway, oh, that's just because we're not on. Anyway, I love this. So anyway, the skeleton for animation, the joints have to be straight forward and back, left and right, up and down. Even though a better joint orientation for animating a finger should, yeah, see, it's looking funny because we're not in, I don't know why this one won't do it. We're not in orthographic view, so that they're looking off when they're really not. So anyway, this is the orientation that's good for for rigging, because the bones in Second Life have these joint orientations, and it's how the rig has to be when you export out those orientations, when you export out those animations for those bones. so that they rotate properly in second life, because that's how the bones are oriented in second life. But it makes it very difficult to actually animate the fingers. So if I go select like hierarchy, and I go to rotate, let's see, object, no, we want local, no, I guess we do want object. When you go to rotate this bone, that's not moving like I thought it would. When you go to this is weird, it's not working the way I thought it would. Anyway, when you go to rotate the bone, it doesn't bend like you think it would. See, it doesn't. Oh, that's really weird. Why is it doing that? What? Oh, it's probably because it's because it's constrained to the other skeleton. It's constrained to this skeleton. If I get rid of that skeleton, the animation skeleton, that should free up this skeleton, and now hopefully, yeah, there we go. That's why it wasn't working. Okay. So I'm going to select the hierarchy. Okay. So what happens is when you go to rotate it, it rotates at this weird angle. Not like a human finger would normally bend. And so it makes animating really difficult. To animate it correctly, you'd have to I think it's the middle, yeah, the middle mouse. No, not the middle mouse, but let's see. Yeah, anyway, you can see it just doesn't rotate. You would have to rotate it in all directions. And it just makes it very difficult to rotate. You have to rotate it this way, and then you go, okay, now you got to rotate it this way a little bit to keep it lined up. And you got to actually rotate it in two. I don't know why maybe I don't have it on gimbal or something. Anyway, there's usually you can rotate it a little bit easier without actually having to selecting this. But anyway, you can see actually rotating it in 3 axes, actually, if you look over here. And that becomes very difficult to rotate. So, I'm going to undo and bring back the other skeleton. So, the animation skeleton, you can actually see that the joint orientations for, there we go, for the bones, are actually, they line up so that one is always pointing to the child in the joint chain. And if we select the hierarchy there and then go to rotate it, we only have to rotate it using one controller. See, and it rotates like you think the finger is going to rotate. And since the other skeleton is constrained to it, it rotates properly. So that makes it a lot easier to animate with, having the second skeleton that the bones are joint, or the joint orientations for the bones, is set up so that rotating the bones is a lot easier and a lot more intuitive, and it just makes things a lot easier. It also makes it easier to set for it to create IK handles and all sorts of fun things. So, that's one of the reasons. The other reason is you'll have, maybe you have noticed that the animation skeleton actually has an extra joint in it at the tip. That's actually, it just makes it a little bit, in this case, I did it so that it makes it a little bit easier to animate, having this joint out there. But BBH exporters, you need an extra joint at the end of each joint chain. On the hand, you have 5 joint chains there, the thumb and the other fingers. Each one of these is a joint chain. And the BVH exporter needs an extra bone at the end so that, because it doesn't export out the last bone in the chain. Don't ask me why, but I guess it does. I don't know why it can't, but it does. It needs that extra bone. It will only, so anyway, so if you're going to animate just a skeleton by itself, say you deleted the animation skeleton, and you did want to animate just on one skeleton, that's the regular skeleton, the way it's normally set up in Second Life, even with the joints being oriented where it makes it more difficult to animate, say you want to give it a shot, you would have to add a bone to the end of these fingers, so that when this last joint is animated or rotated, it would actually export out. So, but by constraining an animation skeleton, constraining the regular Second Life skeleton that you've rigged to the animation skeleton, that allows the animation skeleton to act as if it's the whole skeleton becomes like a second joint, so that for each bone, so that when you do animate, go to export out your animation on the hip skeleton for export, which is the skeleton you have your mesh clothing or avatar rigged to, it will actually export out. So those are the two reasons. It's just easier to animate with the second skeleton, and it provides that second bone so that all the bones all the way to the end will export out. So now we're at 17 minutes. It's going to be a half-hour video, I tell you. Better than an hour, though. So, okay, so what do we want to do next? Okay, so we want to make sure we're looking at the animation skeleton. That's this red one. And you want to have the outliner open again. And you're going to want to expand the animation skeleton. That's this one. And if you hold your shift key down and you click on the plus sign, it will expand all of the bones. Okay. So then the very next thing you need to do is you come here and you switch this to animation. So you switch that to animation, come here to skeleton, come down here to human IK. Don't know why they didn't give it a different name, but they gave it the same name as the old one. So a window like this will pop open. Newer versions will look slightly different, but you'll recognize it for sure. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be defining the skeleton. So, so the first thing you do is you click on skeleton. Okay, and then this pops up, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be defining these parts of the skeleton of the control thing here to recognize the parts in the bones that we want it to correspond with. Okay, so I have this outliner open because in Second Life, the bones, we have these new spine bones, and you can see that the spine bone one goes up from the this would be the M pelvis bone right here, but I renamed it to animation skeleton. If we go to spine 1, it goes up, but then when we go to spine 2, it goes back down. And then when you go to torso, it goes back up again. So it makes it very difficult to select these bones manually in the scene. So that's why you have the outliner open. So, okay, so we're going to do this bone first. You can do any bone, it doesn't matter which order, but I just always start off with the hips. And if you hold your mouse over it, you can see where it says hips. I don't know why it won't. So anyway, so there's hips. So you just double click on this, and you see it's highlighted and the other bones disappear. And then you click on animation skeleton. And now we've told this thing here that the animation skeleton bone here is the hip bone. And now we're going to do the first bone in the spine. Just double click. Now I'm not going to pick spine 1, most avatars, at least the regular Bento avatar for the Linden Lab, are not using these bones right here, these spine bones. They do use the torso bone. So I'm going to then click on the torso bone, and you see it turns green. Now I could, if I really had wanted to, I could have clicked on this and then added more bones, but it's not really necessary since these are, spine 1 and torso are in the same location, and same with spine 4. It's the same location, and the torso bone moves spine 4. So anyway, so we're just going to continue on. So now we're going to do the next bone, which would be the M chest bone. So you click on this to expand it to spine view, even though we did just do one spine bone. And you have to do the very lowest one. You might be tempted to click a bone closer to where the M chest bone is actually, it would be in this picture, but don't. It won't work. It has to be the lowest one in the scene. So click below it, double click on it, and then come here to M chest, and we've just clicked on it, and now it's defined. So the very next bone in the skeleton, now that we're past all these extra bones that kind of go back and forth on each other, would be the M neck bone. You can see it's up here. And so it's a neck bone, so I'm going to come out of here, and now I'm going to increase so you can view the neck. So here's the bones. And again, you have to select the bottom one of the chain. And I could either, so I double clicked on here, and I could either just click there. Whoops. Double click. Oh, and it did select. Oh, why didn't it turn green? Oh, now it turned green. That was weird. I don't know why it didn't just turn green. But anyway, so once I selected it in here, it turned green. Okay, so we've got the, let me control Z that. Okay, so nothing is selected there. Let me make sure nothing is selected. Come here, double click on here, and you should just be able to, instead of clicking in here, you should, now that it's easy to select the neck, you should just be able to click on that. There it goes, now it worked. And you see it says M neck. Now you see it says it's underscore M neck. That's, I named it that so that it wouldn't interfere with the bone names here. And this would be the M pelvis bone. And it could have stayed M pelvis, but BVH used to have the M pelvis named hip. I don't think that's no longer the case now with the BVH exporters and importers for Second Life. They'll take the regular Second Life bone names with no problem. But I created this stuff a long time ago, before that was really available. I think that was only in the last year or two. Or maybe less. But anyway, so I just named it hip because that's the standard name for BVH. But this is, like I said, this is the regular skeleton. And these just are the constraints. But this is the skeleton that you rig to. Okay. So, we've done the neck. Now let's do the head. So I'm going to double click. And I can either click up here, or it might just be easier to click here. Because all these bones in there kind of get in the way. Okay. Now it gets easier. So now I'm going to do the collarbone. Now, Second Life Avatar only has one collarbone, just like it doesn't have 20 billion spine bones, like it shows in these images. So you just click on the lowest one again, and now I'm just going to click there. And you notice it popped over to the other side. We did the left side, now it popped over the right side, and it's already green. That's because the program, Maya, is sophisticated enough to recognize that as long as the naming convention is good, it can recognize the left and right, and so it will automatically define the other bone with no problem. See, right collarbone, left collarbone would be for for this one. So, and so that means we only have to really do half the avatar. Don't have to do the whole avatar. So now we'll do the shoulder. So double click on the shoulder there, and we'll click there, and that's the shoulder bone. And okay, and now I'm going to do the elbow, and then I'm going to do the hand, or the wrist bone, the end wrist bone. Whoops, why did that turn yellow? It shouldn't have turned yellow. Missing required bone. Where am I missing the required bone? Left arm is assigned to bone M shoulder. Change to no. Okay. Shoulder. Elbow. Okay. Double click. Okay. Mine decided to be a butt head and not work like it's done a million times that I've done it already. Okay, so we're going to just select it through the outliner and be a little bit easier. So there's the wrist. So we're going to double click on there. Missing bone required. Left arm doesn't seem to be parallel to the x-axis. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to reconnect these bones to up to this point, and because I might have accidentally, when I moved it, I guess maybe I didn't put it back in the regular stance. That's probably what happened was when I was doing showing the animations and stuff. So, okay, I'm going to pause it and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back to that point, and we're going to do the hand. And it's because I moved the animation, you know, when I was showing the animation, it moved the bones out of the T-pose position, and so they were just off slightly. So that's the reason why I was getting that error. So, okay, so I'm going to double click on the hand, and then I could click on any one of these 5 bones. Oh, let's click on that one, and see, we got the green one there. Okay, so now we're up and running. So now we're going to do the hands, the fingers of the hand. And I will show you 1 or 2 fingers, and then I'll pause it, do the rest of the fingers so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. So, okay, so you go to the hands, you expand the hands, and we're going to do the thumb first. And this is the left hand over on the side. If you just hover your mouse over these, you can see it says left hand. So we're going to do the left hand. So double click on the first bone in the thumb, or close to the position that you want it to be. Then we're going to double click the next one and select it. Double click the next one, select it. And this is that extra bone that I was talking about. Double click, select. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing with the index finger. Double click. Double click. And double click. Okay, so at this point I'm going to pause it, so I'll just do the other 3 fingers. You don't need to watch it since you guys get the point. Okay, so now we have all the fingers, and now we're going to continue on. And it's really easy. Upper legs, knee, and then foot. So, okay, now you might have noticed, here, let me do that one again. Okay, see how this is red? It looks like a stop sign without the word stop in it. That means it's not ready. there's not enough bones to find in order for Maya to create a usable human IK rig system. But you'll notice as soon as we do the foot, it turns green. So now we're good to go. So now we'll come over here to controls, and you want to come over here to source, and you want to click control rig. Okay, so now we actually have a control rig. I'm going to hide the animation skeleton. And so we have this control rig in the scene now. And it's very similar to the other control rig. Behaves very similarly. Let me show the upper body and bento head, eyes. Okay. It's very similar to the other control rig. You know, has these things at the ends of the wrists and the fingers. And you can actually change these from a circle to, say, you want a sphere. So it's just easier to grab. Okay, and I often come up here and turn off joint select so that you don't accidentally click joints when you're trying to grab one of these controls. It just makes it a little bit easier. I already have mesh turned off, so you can't select a mesh by clicking on it, so that it's a little bit easier. Let's see. If you want to make a controller bigger, like this controller is for the hips, and it's pretty small. It's hard to grab. So if I wanted to make that bigger, I just select it, and I come in here to radius, and I'll change that to 10. That just makes it a lot easier to select. Same with the head up there. I might make like this like 8, you know, just to make it bigger. I mean, I could make it a sphere if I really wanted to. It's whatever you particularly prefer. And I'm going to hide this real quick. There's another controller that's kind of hidden. It's right here. And it's a spine controller. It's like I said, it's a little difficult to see. It's impossible to select if you have the upper body. So I'm going to increase the size of it. So there, it's 8. So a lot easier to select. Okay. So the I'm almost there. So we've basically done adding the controllers. So now the controllers are all good. Very next thing you want to do is you want to take, see, these are your avatar, these are the controllers right here. Just like we used to said, human IK. Now that this has the new IK, it says character 1 control reference. So what you want to do is, here is the move avatar controller, but it's not connected to anything, so it's not affecting the avatar. So what we want to do is we want to take the character 1 control reference. You want to click on it with your left mouse button, and then hold down, put your mouse over the name, hold down the middle mouse button, and drag it over while holding down the middle mouse button until it's over move avatar control and release. And now what that did is that parented the controls to the move avatar controller. And so now if we select that, you see it selects there, and now it moves the whole thing. If I just went like this and let go, even though this looks like it's highlighted, it's just not highlighted, the thing with the arrows. So if I click on that there, now it's highlighted. Now the whole thing moves together. So now, right now, your rig is ready to animate. You know, it has elbow controllers, just, you know, has knee controllers, you know, there's some hip controller there. You know, it has feet controllers down here. Like I said, you can customize those if you feel like it. Now, I'm going to demonstrate how this setup is a lot better. Okay. One, I'll show you the hip controller. Hold on, I need to take a sip of water. Okay, and I'm going to make a quick animation, an animation that with the old BVH Exporter 1.5 would give you an error when you went to try to upload it to Second Life. And so, and I'll show you the instead of just using the shortcut keys to create the keyframes, I'll show you the actual keys. So here's you go to animate, here's the set key. And you can see mine says S, yours probably says home on it. And I'm going to open up the options. Now I'm just using the default options. And they seem to work pretty fine. You could add that if you really wanted to. Doesn't really matter. You can set things for IK, FK, and all that kind of stuff. You can find that out in another video. But right now, just the default settings work just fine. But there are advantages to IK and FK, but I'm not going to go over them in this video. You can search YouTube and find out more about that kind of stuff if you're really, really into it. So, okay, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on frame 1, and I'm going to click apply while I have this controller here selected. You can see a little red line creates, and that means I made a keyframe. And I come here to frame 48, hit apply. Now I'm going to come here to frame 24. I'm going to rotate this clockwise, just like that. And I'm going to hit apply, so that you have this animation. Now this animation here, if I use the old exporter 1.5, it would give you an error when you went to upload it to Second Life. If I had rotated it this way and created a keyframe, I could export it out with the old 1.5 and it would upload just fine. So that was the error. Like I said, it took me about I worked on this for about 20 hours before I finally figured it out. I did a lot of stuff, a lot of experiments, and so it was a lot of work to find that one little typo, and then it worked. And believe me, I was happy. So okay, so one of the things, like I said, before you couldn't delete a key, and now you can just, I have this key, that frame selected with that keyframe on there. Click on the right mouse button and click delete, and it's gone. Everything's working fine. If I wanted to do a hand animation, I could click there, and I'm going to use the shortcut keys now. I'm just going to click the S key. Yours would probably be the home key. Click on frame 48. Come here to frame 24. You can click on any frame. Move the arm to where it's supposed to be. Hit S key. Creates a frame, right? And then if I click on frame 24 again, right mouse click on and click copy. Come here to frame 35 and click paste. Now, see, it stays. It freezes. It doesn't move. It works exactly the way it's supposed to work. So this is why you really, really, really want to be using this new human IK system, not the horrible one that came with Maya Star. So now the avatar will react the way it's supposed to in Second Life. And so, and you could, it will react the way it's supposed to. You could come in here and you could select that, select hierarchy, and you can see all the keyframes. And you could come in here and delete each keyframe. Oops. Oh, I didn't have the right key. See, I didn't click on the frame itself. And then click delete, and it gets rid of it. Click there, click delete, gets rid of there. Come here, click delete, or click on it. What I'm doing is I'm clicking on the frame I want to delete, the keyframe, and I do it. You could either click and let go of the right mouse button, but a lot of times I hold down the right mouse button, come up here, and then just release the mouse button, and instead of having to click twice. That's just a little old school way of doing it, much faster. Okay, now you'll notice because I selected all of the controllers, it also got rid of the keyframes on here too. So with the old system, you couldn't do that. You couldn't. It was just a nightmare. The old controllers for animating was just a nightmare. So so that was it. So now you know how to make these controllers, how to adjust these so you can click on them easier, and why you really have to switch over. You know, here's a controller here. If you didn't particularly like this little cross thing out here, like I said, you could come here and make it a sphere if you wanted to, just to make it easier to click on. And you'll notice that when I move the finger, it bends. I'm not rotating it, I'm moving it. It bends like a normal finger, like you expect it to. And that's because I'm using that second skeleton. And you can also do a rotate instead of moving it. Now, even though we moved it like this is not a translation animation. With Human IK, it bends, it rotates the bones. So we're not doing translation animation when we're moving and animating like this. Okay, so I'm going to Control Z out. I'll show you just one or two more things real quick. Okay, this is a little bit different. You have pinning and unpinning. Even if we pin all, and then we go to, I'll move this out of the way, and we go to move this, it's acting like it's not pinned. Even though it says it's pinned here. You know, that's because you can, unlike the old one, or when the old system, when you just pinned all, it would pin it. This is the matter of one being, this acts like a percentage, you know, one being 100% pinned, 0.5 being 50% pinned. Now when I move this, see the arm tries to stay in one spot. Just like the feet. See, the feet are already pinned, and they're already pinned at 100%. See, and it's pinned all. Or you can come in here, let me get this back to where it was. You can come in here, and you can, instead of pinning it all, you can pin just the translate, so that when you go here, I thought it would, oh, again, I don't even, it still has 100% pin on the rotation. So you gotta turn off the rotation. And now when we move it, see, it still tries to stay in the same spot, but it will rotate it. So that's the difference between, you know, and if we came in here and 0.5, it shouldn't rotate as fast. And if we do let's see, 0.9, surprised. It must have some sort of effect. Oh, that's, oh duh. I was making adjustments when I had this selected. Not this. I should have had this to 0.5. Actually, here. Put this down here like this, and put this to 0.5. It should only, oh, that's, why am I going to learn my lesson? I have to select that. 0.5. See how now it affects it 50%. Instead of being pinned 100%, it's pinned 50%. And that's the translate. So I don't even know, and if we unpin it, it still acts as if it's pinned. So I have no idea what this pinning, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just to have you remind you what you're trying to pin. There's probably some function, but it doesn't work the way the other system worked. So even though this is saying it's that this is unpinned, it's still acting as if it's pinned 100% on the translate and the rotation. So that's kind of weird. That doesn't make much sense to me of what the heck is this for. Probably is a reason for it. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, it's 45 minutes into the video. I'm going to make another video going over the other's regular human avatar, and I'm going to also do, I think I'll do that tomorrow, but I will going to make another video right now going over the new exporter for Second Life. I call it BVH Exporter 1.5.5, and so I'll do that in the next video.